Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm just going to get started. Before I go any further, just a quick piece of housekeeping. This is being recorded, this event, so that if anyone can't attend, we can circulate the recording after the event. That means that if you ask a question, your question will appear on the recording. So if you want to ask a question and you're not comfortable with your question appearing on the recording, then just send me an email afterwards and I'll answer your question tomorrow. Okay, so the purpose of today's event is to quickly talk through the post-16 progress checks because they've just been issued for year 12 and 13 and it's very likely that you don't understand how they work, so just wanted to talk through what all the different numbers mean so that hopefully you can have a really good understanding of your child's progress. Okay, so firstly, at Finnan Park Sixth Form, there are 3 ways that we share information with you. Progress checks happen 3 times a year and they're purely data driven. So the progress checks are literally just grades. And in a minute, I'll talk to you about what all the grades mean. A report is issued in the summer term, and that is a summary of how your child has done across the whole year. And that will tell you in a little bit more detail how your child is doing in all of their subjects. Because it's got a written component and it's got some tick boxes where your teachers will give them grades for various different parts of each subject. And then there's a parents' evening. Year 13 parents' evening took place last week, and the year 12 parents' evening is later on in the academic year. That is a virtual event. Every year we and ah about whether to do the event virtually or in person. However, overall, the parent voice has told us that it's easier for you to do the parents' evening virtually, and so we do it virtually. In addition to that, you are more than welcome to email your child's teacher at any point during the academic year. Please just contact them and arrange to have telephone conversations, meetings as you need. Teachers are very, very used to this, so you won't ever need to feel uncomfortable about contacting your child's teachers if that's something you'd like to do. It's very much an open door policy and culture, so just be very aware of that you're more than welcome to contact us if you need information outside of these information points. So on your child's progress check, you'll see various numbers. Attitude to learning is one of them. Now, attitude to learning takes into account all of the things that you can see on the board. So attitude to learning is basically around effort, completion of work. Very importantly, oh, sorry, I've just had a question. Is there a slide being shared? Yes, there is. Can somebody else pop in the chat whether or not you can see my PowerPoint slides? Okay, it seems like most people can see them. I'm really sorry that you can't see them. You'll be able to catch up on the recording. It looks like most people can. So I'm going to carry on for now. This is being recorded and I'm going to send the recording out tomorrow. So if you're missing the slides, then you'll be able to have a look at them then. I'll also send the PowerPoint out separately. Anyway, so carrying on, as I was saying, attitude to learning is about effort, basically. But really importantly, that includes independent study. Now, one of the significant changes to learning at post-16 is that students are expected to do a certain number of hours of independent study each week. Generally, as a guide, we say 5 hours of independent study per subject outside lessons. That is in addition to the issued homework. And that will be things like background reading, extra questions, past papers. What exactly it involves very much depends on the subject. The students have had a lot of guidance. I've done 4 assemblies on independent study skills, all of which are on the YouTube channel. I sent them out with one of the previous newsletters, so you can go through those with your child if you'd like to. And each subject teacher will talk to your child about what that will look like. Now, if your child is not doing independent study, they cannot have a progress check attitude to learning of a 3 or a 4. It will have to be a 1 or a 2. And often students feel absolutely outraged because in lessons they're doing what they should be doing. They're doing their homework and they feel they're doing everything they need to do, but because they're not doing the required independent study, they've been given a attitude to learning of a 2. There is a very good reason for that, which is that if students don't do that that independent study, it will affect their final grade. And so we'd much rather be firm on that now than have students unhappy down the line. To be clear, if a child has an additional need or a learning difference, that's absolutely taken into account. Students are not penalised for having learning differences. So if there's something on this list they struggle with, then that will be taken into account. Some students we know, as per their passport, their SEND plan, find it very difficult to ask for support, and obviously they won't be punished in their attitude to learning if they're not doing that. We take all of that into account and we support them as appropriate. So these are the grades. 90% of students will get an attitude to learning of a 3 or a 2. If your child has got an attitude to learning of a 4, that's amazing. They are going above and beyond in that subject, and this is quite rare, really. So if they've got an attitude to learning of a 4, that's something to be celebrated. A 3 means they're doing what is expected of them, and as I alluded to a minute ago, that includes their independent study. If they're getting a 2, it means they're not fulfilling expectations. And then a 1 means there's a serious problem in this lesson. Attitude to learnings of a 1 is almost unheard of. In the progress check just published, there are just over 400 students in the sixth form. Each of them have 3 or 4 subjects. There were 4 1s across the whole cohort. That's how rare they are. So if your child has been given attitude to learning of a 1, I strongly recommend contacting their teacher to have a conversation about why it's been given. Hopefully the teacher would already have contacted you, so that wouldn't be a surprise. But I would recommend doing that if you haven't already. Okay, so that's the attitude to learning. The next thing you will see is attendance. So the overall attendance, that is to everything. Now, every year we get students who are outraged because they've been in every day. Attendance includes attendance to mentor period first thing in the morning, meaning that if your child is regularly late, their attendance won't be 100%. Now, that's not the case if your child's 1 or 2 minutes late, but if your child's regularly 20, 25, 30 minutes late, even if they've been in school every day, they will not get 100% attendance. So if you're sat there looking at the progress check thinking, hang on a minute, why has my child not got 100% attendance? It may well be that they're regularly late. You can have a look on the My Child at School app and it should give you information about their attendance. A couple of notices: if your child's done work experience or has had a day off for religious observance, that won't affect their attendance as long as we were informed about it, so it's been authorised. And we request that students aim for 95% attendance, but at this stage, every day represents a high percentage, so we understand it might be lower. Now, Year 12 actually don't have target grades yet, but I've included them because I wanted to explain to you how target grades work. So, the government every year put all of the GCSE grades into a fancy formula. I'm not going to go into details of how it works, but if you're interested, I can send you a document with more detail. And they basically churn out a target grade for each child based on how everybody in the country did at GCSE in that particular subject. And they're sent to the school, and they are called L3VA targets. That stands for level 3 value added. Now, we will receive those in time for January. Exactly when we receive them varies slightly each year, but we will receive them in time for January. Then what we do is we go through them grade by grade and we tweak them on a case-by-case basis with your child's teachers. So if your child is in year 13, you will already have those target grades. If your child is in year 12, you can expect to see them on the next progress check because that's around when they will arrive in school. So when you do see those target grades later on in the year, that's how they've been calculated. As I said at first, they are that we use the government data and then we tweak them. Now, I've been in education for about 15 years now, and I've worked at 3 schools, and I've seen various different government target setting methods. And I would say L3VA is quite good. I wouldn't use it if it wasn't. I am a mathematician and I am a maths teacher, and I think L3VA is definitely one of the better government target setting measures. So please don't feel concerned about the fact that we use this government measure. It's a really good starting point. And then, as I say, we do tweak each target on a case-by-case basis if needed in conjunction with your child's teachers. So now the difficult bit is the working at grade and the course grade. So this is what the progress check will look like later in the year once the target grade is in. As I said, year 12 won't currently have the target grade. So you'll have the target grade. That target grade is a grade for the end of year 13. You'll have the attitude to learning, which we've already spoken about. And then you'll have the working at grade and the course grade. Now, a bit of context, when I first took over as head of sixth form, the progress checks were all over the place. Some departments were grading like this, so students would slowly make progress throughout the 2 years. Some departments were grading like this, so students would basically stay on the same grade throughout the 2 years, and we had everything in the middle. Now, all of those grading systems are valid, but what it meant was there wasn't enough consistency. So parents and the sixth form team found it really hard to do interventions and to identify which students needed support. So what we've done now is we've kind of got both of them. So a working at grade is based on the work your child has done so far. So the working at grade at any point, including this stage of year 12, could be any grade between a U and an A star. Now, if your child's in year 12, when this progress check was entered, your child had done 9 school weeks worth of work. And so the working at grade is the grade that they have been working at based on the work they've done in those 9 weeks. So that would include classwork, homework, any pieces of controlled assessment, any in-class assessments, any independent study, folder checks, anything like that. Your child's teacher will have had a look at all the pieces of work they've done, things like the quality of their responses in class, everything they've done, and said, right, what grade are they working at? Now, it's fair to say that in certain subjects, you wouldn't expect a child to be working at an A or an A star at this stage. For example, in English, the quality of a child's writing will often simply become more sophisticated over the 2 years. Whereas in a subject like maths or maybe physics, it is more likely that they will be able to work at the highest level all the way along, because it's a case of learning more content rather than developing a set of skills. So what that looks like exactly will differ slightly per subject, but the idea of it is based on all of the work they've done so far, what grade are they working at? For children in year 13, that grade will take into account everything they did in year 12 and the work they've done for the first 9 weeks of year 13, and is literally a best fit grade. So if your child has got a working at grade of a D or an E, then the context you need to know is that probably puts them towards the bottom end of the cohort. If your child is working at an A or an A star, that puts them right at the top of the cohort. And the working at grade has the full range of grades. Now, the course grade is a depiction of what the child would get if they sat the exam today. So for year 12, that will be U in almost every case. The exception is, for example, if they're studying a modern foreign language and they're a native speaker, or if they are resitting. We don't actually have anyone resitting, but if they were resitting the year, for example. So the course grades will slowly creep up, and they will look a little bit like this. At the start of year 12, almost everybody is on a U, and then by the end of year 13, by sort of spring of year 13, we would expect them to be achieving the grades that they'd be getting in their final examinations. And so that will show a trajectory of progress. And we hope that the combination of the working at grade and the course grade gives quite a clear picture of how the child is doing, because you've got those 2 data points. For reference, the working at grade is more likely to go up and down and wobble throughout the course as students find topics harder or easier. As I said, in some subjects, things like English or history, generally a child's essay writing skills will become more sophisticated. So generally they will creep up. In the more sciencey subjects, you'll find they go up and down as children find aspects of the course harder or easier. I'm a maths teacher, for example, will study mechanics and statistics, which are 2 applied parts of the course later on in the year. Some children will find their working at grade will go down because they'll find that harder. Some will find their working at grade will go up because they'll find it easier. And for some, it'll stay very similar. So with the mathsy, sciencey subjects, it's more likely to wobble around. With the humanities subjects, generally it's more likely to creep up, but that's not a rule, because every child is different. But we feel that those 2 data points, and then 3 once we get the target grades, actually give you quite a clear picture I've just had a question. How does the course grade differ from the year 13 target grade? So the course grade is what your child would get if they sat the exam today. So for this year 12 child, because they haven't been in year 12 for very long, if they sat their final A levels today, they would get a U grade in all their subjects. Rightly, because otherwise what's the point of the next 2 years? The target grade is a government calculated grade, although it has been amended slightly, is a government calculated grade, indicating what we believe they should be capable of getting at the end of year 13. So that's really a summary of what all the grades mean. And I will now take questions in the chat. As you can see, given the topic of this meeting, if you can keep any questions to relevant content, so progress checks, reports, assessments, I'll answer any of those today. If you have any other queries, please contact me. My email address is on the screen. And if you would like to ask a question that you don't feel comfortable having appearing on the recording, then just email me. Right, what is the E for under the course grade? Hang on, let me just pop back. I'm so sorry. What is the E for under the course grade? I'm so sorry, I'm not quite following. I'll come back to that question in a second. Will parents get copies of the progress checks? Yes, the progress check is the progress checks are on the My Child at School app. So if you don't have access to that, you will have got a letter at the start of the academic year enabling you to download the app. So if you just check and download that, then you'll be able to access your child's progress check. If you have an E under course grade for your child, that probably means for one of their subjects, they are achieving a course grade of an E. But if you email me the name of your child, then I'll have a look at the progress check specifically and get back to you. Are there any further questions? Oh, BTEC subjects. Yes, very good question. So BTEC subjects, the progress check works in the same way, but the grading is ever so slightly different. So the grading goes from pass, merit, distinction to distinction star. So pass is the equivalent of an E grade, merit is the equivalent of a C grade, distinction is the equivalent of an A grade, and distinction star is the grade equivalent of an A star grade. It's not a perfect comparison, but that's how the government translate the two. So what is this grade based on at this point? So if we go back to the previous slide, the working at grade is based on literally everything the child's done so far in that subject. So that includes the work done in class, both written work in class and oral contributions. Then it includes any pieces of homework completed. It includes any assessments completed in or outside the classroom. It includes work done as part of independent study. It includes any other work seen, for example, through folder checks. And the teacher basically calculates a best fit grade based on all the work done so far. For year 13, by the end of year 13, working out grade and course grade should be the same. And they will slowly, so working out grade will basically sit there, course grade will basically sit there, and over the 2 years, course grade will slowly progress to meet working out grade. When will this be issued? These were issued last week. If you go onto the My Child at School app, you should be able to access them. If you don't have the My Child at School app, then look back through your emails. You received an email early in the academic year telling you how to download the app. If you've missed that, then contact Mrs. Foster, Sixth Form Administrator, who will be able to help you download it. I'm going to stay on just for another couple of minutes in case there are any further questions, and I'll circulate the recording afterwards. Yes, parents can access the progress check. The progress check is it's on the My Child at School app. If you can't access it, then email me and I can send you a copy. Target grades are not the same as predicted grades. No, target grades are calculated basically using a government formula. Predicted grades are predicted by the teacher based on the work the child has actually done. Target grades are a good idea, a good indicator of where they might be at the end of year 13, but it really depends on the trajectory the child actually takes, depending on the effort they put in and what happens, because the target grades are generated by the government based on their GCSE results. I can see a hand up. So the report will be released for year 12. The report is released towards the end of the summer term. For year 13, the report is released right at the start of the summer term, soon before they leave. There's a hand up. Did somebody want to ask a question? Fab. Well, if there's no more questions, then I'll just say good night. And as I said, I'll circulate the recording later in the week. Thank you very much. Bye bye.